Yeah, that is the question. Does the vice president really speak for the president? As we just heard, we're really no closer to clarity tonight. But in Sweden, the question is, can you believe what the U.S. president said? At a rally in Florida over the weekend, Mr. Trump, defending his policy of extreme vetting of migrants, says that the U.S. must stop would-be Islamist terrorists from doing in America what they are already doing in Europe. He mentioned places where attacks have occurred, and then he mentioned Sweden.
Here's the bottom line. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening in Germany. You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't believe it. A lot of people on social media have been mocking the president for seeming to refer to that attack that never happened. Now, the White House has responded that Trump meant to point to rising crime in general. Trump tweeted, "My statement referred to a Fox News story on immigrants and Sweden." Now, the hashtag last night in Sweden has trended in response to Trump's speech. This picture was shared widely. A UK resident joked, "After the terrible events last night in Sweden, IKEA has sold out of this border wall." Now, this comment also got thousands of likes. A Denmark resident saying, "Last night in Sweden, free health care and education, paid vacation and maternity leave, democracy, just the usual Scandinavian stuff." And even Sweden's ex-prime minister, Carl Bildt, he weighed in saying, "Sweden, terror attack, what has he been smoking?" Well, questions abound. Trump responded today again by blaming the media. Give the public a break. The fake news media is trying to say that large-scale immigration in Sweden is working out just beautifully. Not. All right, let's go to Sweden, find out what's going on. I'm going to go to Stockholm now. I'm joined by Tove Lifvendahl, political editor-in-chief at the Svenska Dagbladet, the newspaper in Stockholm. Tove, it's good to have you on the show. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. How have you reported this story? Is this a case of the U.S. president misinterpreting something he heard on TV, or is this a case of him trying to push fake news?
Well, I think Donald Trump seems to be like a wandering fake news channel. There was no incident in Sweden Friday night, but it seemed like Fox News talked about Sweden last night, on Friday night, so that's what he was referring to. And I find it disappointing over and over again that a person who carries this office uses his public space in such a sloppy and careless way. So his staff has to go out and explain what he really meant.
Would you say that the reaction in Sweden has been more people maybe laughing this off, or have people been maybe even offended or outraged?
Oh, I think it's been more on the, incredulous reaction. It's ridicule and already a fatigue that this continues to be a person that, well, it's not shockingly really it's just another Trump behavior. Mm-hmm. So I think more of a fatigue and ridicule has been the sense of the reactions today.
Yeah. And, Trump said that his information came from a report on Fox News, and he was referring to an interview with the filmmaker Ami Horowitz on the show Tucker Carlson tonight. In that interview, Horowitz blames refugees for a crime wave in Sweden. And let's take a look at a clip from that interview.
Was that there was an absolute surge in both gun violence and rape in Sweden once they began this open-door policy. So they know that this crime is happening. They can feel it. The statistics are clear. But they would refer to what is the root cause behind it and say, oh, it's just more, it happened to be more violence. It's men who are raping people, not the refugees. They'll make excuses for it. The majority of the population in Sweden still want to have an open-door policy. It's confounding.
Huh. That's remarkable. Tell me, what's the truth there? What's the truth there about crime, for example?
The truth is that we don't have any new statistics based on origin from 2005. We know that at 2005, there was an overrepresentation of foreign-born, and that you could see that there's a representation of people who contain the most immigrants to Sweden. So we really don't know. When talking about this, the government has said that they don't want to make a new statistics based on origin because the analysis is that it would be similar towards the one we had 2005. We know that it is 1% of the people who are in Sweden which will stand for 63% of the violent.
Okay, but what about the claims that the police and the authorities are covering up the truth about the percentage or the numbers of refugees who are committing crimes? I mean, is there truth in that there is a cover-up going on?
There was a kind of scandal. We had this similar mass attacks like there was in Colonia at a festival. And what happened then was that the police actually covered up and got a lot of criticism for that. So, and of course, that will spark off a lot of conspiracy theories that this will be the case other times as well. But I think that it would have been exposed if that would have been the case.
I want you to take a look now, Tove, at what Horowitz said in his interview on Fox News about the way refugees live in Sweden.
That is grotesque. So to the job numbers, we had in the intro something like 160,000 asylum seekers, only 500 wound up working in Sweden. That leaves a lot of unemployed people. What are they doing and how are they living? Oh,
they live great, Tucker. I mean, it's one of the most generous, financial programs that they have in terms of the amount of money they're giving to them. The housing benefits.
So what's the story there? Now, he's saying that they live great. How would you define great? Is that true?
I just want to take the first thing he said about people getting into work. I mean, it was long known before Donald Trump became president that we have a difficulty in integration of people in the labor market. So that is true, but you can't really say that out of the 163,000, many of them haven't even had their application brought forward in the system yet. So that is a wrong way of using the statistic. When it comes to living standards, I suggest that he come to Sweden and look at the refugee homes. You can see various different qualities in that. It's true that we put a lot of money in the systems, and we need to discuss in how to do this in the best efficient way. But having been on homes for young people who come without any parents, you can't really say it's a luxury living. It's rather poor and it's rather soulless.
Yeah, exactly. I have a feeling for a refugee, anything that's different from where they're coming from would be an improvement. Tove Lifvendahl, political editor-in-chief at the Svenska Dagbladet newspaper in Stockholm. Tove, thank you very much for being on the day. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.